Bonjour, good afternoon, and welcome to WASA Distance Education. My name is Greg Weaver, and this is ENG3C, Grade 11 Workplace English. I'd like to welcome everyone listening across the North today at home, your learning center, or on Bell Express U. To call in and join our class today, you can call 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017 or 2983 if you're in the Sioux Lookout, Lac Seul, or Dryden area. I'd like to welcome everyone back today. Hope everyone had a good long weekend. Last time I taught you was on Friday. We had a makeup class. If you couldn't make it to class on Friday, I'm currently uploading the video to YouTube as we speak in my office. YouTube's had some issues today, so it's still taking time to upload. I will have it up, and I'll post the links after this class ends, as well as posting this class's video as well. So, what we're doing today, we're going to be finishing up lesson number 1, as well as reading chapter 6 in our course novel, which is Flowers for Algernon. To Kill a Mockingbird. That's the novel for the grade 11 workplace course. My apologies. So, to get started, a quick review. On Friday's class, we finished looking at lesson number 4, and we looked at key question number 4, which asked you to write a movie review. Now, the last thing I want to do with this is help you find some movies that focus on discrimination. Now, these are movies that you have to find on your own. They are normally available either through Netflix. You may be able to rent them at a corner store in your community, or sometimes you can find them for streaming on other internet websites or on YouTube, depending on how old it is. So, we have a student here on Bridget right now. Hello, Priscilla. So, we're starting off with this. So, last we're going to look at how to find websites based on discrimination. So, we're just going to Google. And we're just going to Google movies about discrimination. Now, there's a whole lot of movies here. And you can find this on your own as well by just going to Google and just Googling movies about discrimination. Discrimination movies, just a variation of that search topic will give you a lot of different lists. So we have one here from Wikipedia about the list of racism-related films. Now this is harder because this looks at just at racism, which is a form of discrimination. Some of these are U.S. films, others are from other countries, but there's a whole bunch here based on discrimination. So we have Jason with us. Good to have you with us, Jason. So there we go. Another option is you can click on some of these links and you'll find a whole bunch of lists about movies with discrimination. Now, some of these give you a bit more. This one here just deals with clips. Other ones deal with discrimination as a whole. There's lots of lists here. Just choose one. If you want to, try and find one that you've already seen. That way you don't have to rewatch it. You can just do it based on your memory. And that's what we'll end with uh, lesson number 4 with the movie review. We're starting right into lesson 5, and we're looking at what's known as the feature article in this. And this is a longer version of a news article that's combined with an editorial. So it can be done both with controversial issues and non-controversial issues. I actually just read one of these. It's not based on discrimination, but it's a feature article written by someone here in Sioux Lookout who is First Nations themselves. So we'll get the basic structure. So as mentioned, it's an introduction. The term feature article can refer to both articles written using traditional news article format, but that use subjective or biased language, or they can be more in-depth articles written to fully explore a non-controversial topic. And using objective or unbiased language. Now, for the purpose of this unit, and for the key question at the end of this lesson, we will be using the term feature article to describe subjective or biased news articles. Read the feature article below. This article actually combines elements of a book and a book review, as well as the elements of news articles and editorials commonly found in feature articles. As you are reading, take note of the structure that is used. How does it compare to the news article structure that we have already studied? As well, note any subjective or emotional language that you find. So we have an article here, and this is really, really small. So I'm going to zoom in a bit so it's bigger, and I'll zoom back out again after we're done, because it's really hard to read this. So this is from the Toronto Star. It's written originally back in, I believe it's 2002. Yep. So it is fairly old, but still gives a good example of a feature article written using a subjective viewpoint. So it's the maybe it is right to kill a mockingbird. So it says a Nova Scotia school board almost banned one of my favorite books this week. And it was probably the right thing to do. School board members considered yanking 3 books from high school classrooms in Digby and Yarmouth. All 3 books use the word that's listed there. I'm not going to say it out loud. It's very offensive. All 3 are about the evils of racism. One is a classic of 20th century literature. To Kill a Mockingbird is the story of a courageous white lawyer who stops a lynching. So, it's a word that you can see. I'm not going to say it. All 3 of these is racism. To Kill a Mockingbird is one of those. It's the story of a courageous white lawyer who stops lynching. The Slim novel is a paean to bravery, to the spirit that compels someone to do the right thing, even when they know it will cost them their friends, their job, and perhaps even their life. Criticism over that decision is predictable. The Tri-County School Board was denounced from one end of the country to the other. The censors were boobs, the critics implied. If they didn't understand how the author, Harper Lee, used the N-word to show the evil of racism, they had simply misread the book. The board quickly backed off. Sounds like a victory for the good guys, right? Well, I'm not so sure. Some school boards should never decide what books children should study in class. Well, that's silly. If the students were required to read The Elders of Zion or watch the movie Deep Throat, parents would instantly demand the school board pull the material. If you're not familiar with what those titles are, Elders of Zion is a very, very anti-Semitic or racist towards Jewish people, and the movie Deep Throat is a pornographic film. If you're not familiar with what those two terms are. True censorship is when the public is blocked from making the choices. When a government tries to tell us what we can see or hear and control what we think or feel. Students already live with censorship. They do not pick their textbooks. The teachers do. The issue here is not whether classroom material will be restricted, but whether the teacher or the school board should be the censor. So the sentence, that right there is saying there will be restricted material in the schools. Who decides that? The teacher or the board itself? That said, some school boards clearly go too far. They ban books that should be promoted. They elevate the mediocre because it's less likely to offend. In short, they make stupid decisions. The Nova Scotia controversy began when a grade 10 student said it hurt to hear the word N-word read out loud in class. The fact the N-word underscores the book's anti-racist message wasn't enough to justify hearing such a hateful word in the school, said the student, who was black. It still hurt. His parents agreed and brought the issue to the local African Nova Scotian ad hoc committee. It went to the school superintendent, who recommended the books, Harper Lee's novel To Kill a Mockingbird, plus In the Heat of the Night by John Dudley Ball, and Underground to Canada by Barbara Smucker, be moved from the classroom to the school library. Alienation of black students is a huge problem in Nova Scotia. Race riots closed one school 5 years ago. In Digby and in Yarmouth, the dropout rate for African Canadian students is 27%, far higher than the average. White policymakers have been trying to solve the problem for a very long time. Nova Scotia recently took the brave step of setting aside a special seat for African Canadians on every school board. The idea was to force school boards to listen to the needs of the black community and to guarantee African Canadians have a role in making sure schools welcome black students. It's a kind of blindness to insist To Kill a Mockingbird shouldn't offend anyone. That ignores how the real feelings of real kids. If we really want to draw black students into the education system, we must realize that how students respond to a book is important, even if we don't completely understand their feelings. Why isn't it reasonable to use another book to teach the same important anti-racist message? Instead of To Kill a Mockingbird, Why not teach Toni Morrison's Beloved? A really devastating novel about slavery. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Huston, or Wayla Falls by Nova Scotia's own George Eliot Clark. Dalhousie University professor Isaac Saney points out that the black characters in Harper Lee's novels are the mere shadows, utterly passive victims who rely on white saviors. A different novel might inspire black students by showing them how strong black characters who reject that mere passive role. I know my children will read To Kill a Mockingbird. If it's not in the school curriculum, it'll be on their summer reading list. But should other people's children be forced to read it, especially when they say it's hurtful in ways I may not understand? I don't know. Many have pointed out the irony of banning a book about the evils of racism because it offends racial sensibilities. There is another, greater irony here. To Kill a Mockingbird is about courage, but having the guts to do what you think is right when a community around you violently disagrees. Last week, the school board thought it was right to pull the book from classrooms in Digby and Yarmouth. This week, after facing the ire of public opinion, it lost its nerve. And that was from Toronto Star, and that was from May 11th, 2002. So zoom back out now to our normal size. It's easier to see what's going on here. So here are some support questions. We'll quickly run through these. And then we'll do a bit of analysis based on this article. So the first one says, why did Nova Scotia School Board consider moving To Kill a Mockingbird from the curriculum? So why did that happen? Well, exactly, because there was the use of the M word, and it was considered very racist and discriminatory towards other students. Now, all of these answers are in the back of the course as well, or the back of the unit, on page 49. So, number 2 says, according to the author, what is true censorship? For them, that's when the public is blocked from making choices where the government tries to tell us what we can see or hear as a way to control what we think and feel. Number 3 is, what way do students today live with censorship? Well, they don't pick their own textbooks. They don't pick their own novels. That's done by teachers or school boards. And it is a form of censorship there. Certain teachers and certain schools allow a variety of choice, so students can choose between a few books to study. But even that's still censorship because they're still limited to choices. 4 says, describe the events that led up to the school board's decision. Well, it began when a grade 10 student said it hurt to hear the M word used in class. His parents agreed and brought it to a local committee who talked to the school superintendent who recommended it be removed. Just to the library. So not getting rid of the book completely. It's only going from the classroom to the school library. So that is that point there. So 5 says, why is it blind to insist that To Kill a Mockingbird shouldn't offend anyone? Because it ignores the feelings of kids, which we should never do, even if we don't even understand it. 6 is, what's that person's insights into the novel? And it's that they're mostly victims. And they're mostly passive characters that don't ever take the lead, and they wait for the white characters to come and be there to rescue them. Instead, we should have other books that show strong black characters who reject that passive voice. 7 says irony occurs when the exact opposite of what you expect to happen actually happens. What two ironies does the author put out at the end of the article? Well, first, that people are banning books that deal with racism because it offends their own racial ideas. And the book's about having courage to stand up for what you believe in. The school board backed down when they believe from what was right when they bowed to public pressure. Stand for what they believe in, which is what the moral of the book is. And 8 says, having looked at the entire article, what's the author's opinion? What should To Kill a Mockingbird be read in schools? Should it be banned? If I have 2 quotes that support your conclusion. So they think it should be banned. And it's at the very beginning where they say a school board just about banned my favorite books this week, and they should have. It sounds like a victory for the good guys, right? I'm not so sure. And it's kind of blind since To Kill a Mockingbird shouldn't offend anyone. That shows he agrees it should be banned. And that's why he points that out. So next we look at what's called our next page, which is on page 41, looks at analyzing that feature article, looking at it a bit more in depth. So look at analyzing the feature article here. The article seems to be missing the additional lead. Instead of begins a thought statement, or it's a way to hook your reader, make them keep thinking about it. And this thought-provoking statement, combined with the next 3 paragraphs, answers search on 5 W's and H. So who is it? Those school board members. What's the concern taking 3 books out of the classrooms? Where to happen? Well, in Digby and Yarmouth. When this week, which is in 2002. And watch the books use the N-word in them. The 5th paragraph then gives a quick plot summary, and the author gives her opinion in the 9th paragraph. States, I'm not so sure it's a victory for the good guys. This opinion implies the last paragraph, or is implied in the last paragraph of the article. The school board is wrong to give in public pressure to keep the book in their schools. Between those opinion paragraphs, instead of the point proof structure of book review, it gives factual support, so facts from the novel. As much as you'd find in an editorial, she gives background information about censorship and the demographics, as well as specific examples both from her own life and from the lives of others. So why isn't the author afraid of the meat and potatoes of the article? The reasons why the book is banned is missing. The article, you may have noticed, appears on page H2, meaning it was printed in the 8th section of the paper. It's very unlikely to be cut down to make room for a more important story. And this is probably specially commissioned just for this issue. So they're not going to cut this down to make space for other things because it's a feature piece. It's written for a purpose. So it's combined of all 3 forms, the news report, the editorial, and the book review. Now, this leads into a bigger question, in the key question 5, which we'll look at today. And after we look at key question 5, we'll start reading chapter 6, because I want you to try and work on key question 5 after class ends today. I don't want to start key question 6 until tomorrow. But we're looking at the idea of censorship as a widespread issue. So censorship is an issue some part of society based since society began. For example, the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun was scraped off public monuments by a successor who didn't want King Tut to be remembered by the people after his death. Similarly, all publications during Shakespeare's time had to be approved by a representative of the reigning monarch, either Queen Elizabeth I or King James, to ensure it did not contain material contrary to the image the government wanted to project to the British populace. That's old examples of censorship. It's an issue closer home in more modern times. When the first Harry Potter books became popular, among young readers in North America. A group of concerned parents and representatives attempted to convince the Durham District School Board to remove all Harry Potter books from all libraries and classrooms. That phenomena is not limited to Durham. Many communities were successful in banning books, particularly in the southwest United States. Critics of the books were usually concerned with the glorification of wizardry in the books. Supporters claim that the books make sure of Christian symbols and beliefs, as well as providing positive role models and messages. So this is key question 5. This looks at book banning. This is a bit of a research project to do. So it's time for you to do some more research on books that have been banned or people tried to have banned in both schools and public libraries to protect young people. You will search for information on the internet regarding why books are banned. Search book banning and look for some reasons why books are banned. We also find information on how to ban a book. This research skill is an important one for later writing on this and in other courses. So this is worth a total of 20 marks. Your task is the internet to research book banning and create a research plan that presents the research. Make sure the majority of your jot notes or point form notes are in your own words. Any notes that are quoted from original source must be put inside quotation marks. That's for 7 marks for just your research you find for all your point form. Using 3 different sources gives you an extra 3 marks, a mark for each. And then look at how much do you cover. That's how detailed do you have in how much detail do you have in your notes. And use a variety of sources for 10 marks. So you want to either photocopy this page directly and use this part, or copy this out 3 times. And one for each interview. You want to write the title or the address, the author, the source, date of publication, or when you looked at it, and then just some notes. What's some details of that? So in order to do that, I'll walk you through that right now. So go to Google, and there's a couple really, really good sites based on this research. That's why, or this topic, that's why this is in the novel, in this unit to begin with. So if we look at book banning, you're getting a couple of different options. One of the really good ones is it's an American site. It's the American Library Association, or ALA. And this is banned and challenged books in the United States. Another link that's good right below it is bannedbookweek.org. And these 2 sites right there will give you a lot of information about book banning, about why it tends to happen, what books are most challenged, what books do parents try and get out of school libraries and classrooms, and why. And then you can look for a bit more detail and everything. If you want to look for in Canada, you can go book banning in Canada, because both of those 2 sites are based out of the US. And you get a website here called Freedom to Read. And that is a Canadian site that's very similar to the US ones. It gives you more of a Canadian perspective because the laws are a lot different between Canada and the United States. The United States citizens have a bit more challenge to challenge, a bit more freedom and a bit more power to challenge books because they can really push school boards more. Here in Canada, it's a bit more challenging because of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and provisions in the Constitution. So, this is the ALA, the American Library Association, for banned and challenged books. So here we have a link that says frequently challenged books. If we click on that, what you're going to see is dropped in here. So by authors by year, banned and challenged. Who tried the classic, considered classic that have been challenged? by decade, by year, and stats. So these are ways you can sort it by. So we'll look at the classics, or what's older novels that are considered classic that have been banned, and we'll look at the stats as well. So versus the stats here. So the number of books that have been challenged, the purple is from the last decade, the blue is from this past decade, so from 1990, 2000, 2000, 2010. So we had over 1,500 books challenged because they're sexually explicit, over 1,000 challenged because they're unsuitable for different age groups, and almost about 1,300 challenged because of offensive language. Look at by decade. The most frequently challenged books by decade in our past decade. The number one book that was challenged was Harry Potter, because Christians didn't believe that the depictions of witchcraft were bad and didn't want their children exposed to that. That was the number one challenged book series, or books, from 2000 to 2009. If we go down through this, we see that there's other books here. Some of you may have heard of, may not have heard of. But we see number 21 there is our course novel, To Kill a Mockingbird. Some of these other books that tend to be on high school or grade 7, 8 reading lists include The Chocolate War, number 3. Mice and Men, number 5, is almost always read in most high school classrooms. Perks of Being a Wallflower. Adventure Huckleberry Finn is a very racist book, but a very good book in itself. The Catcher in the Rye is another one. The Giver is normally read in grades 7, 8. It's challenged a lot. Bridge to Terabithia, classic book. I read this back in grade 5. It's challenged very often. Keep going down through this. I'm just quickly scanning it. So all these are just different books that we know. That's in that one. We've looked at classic books. The Great Gatsby just turned into a movie. Challenge often. Catcher in the Rye, Grapes of Wrath, To Kill a Mockingbird. Lord of the Flies. I read when I was in grade 10. 1984. Catch 22. Of Mice and Men. All these are Animal Farm. All these are classic books that tend to be studied in most high schools in North America. Not all of them, but most of them. And they're books that have won a lot of awards, are considered really good examples of English literature, and they're challenged. If we want to look at a bit more Canadian, this is the Canadian one. Free and read it. This is the Canadian website. And Freedom to Read is coming up next week. Is Freedom to Read Week. So we're encouraging people to think about book banning and all of that. So if I pull up closer, I looked at this earlier, and this is books that tend to be challenged most here in Canada, not in the U.S., but just here in Canada itself. So different books that have been challenged. You have, these are all just different book titles. The top 30 books that have been challenged. So Vice Man was challenged as well. Was challenged. Harry Potter again. Um, Underground to Canada, we just looked at in the. It was mentioned in the article you read. Golden Compass has been challenged. To Handmaid's Tale is a Margaret a Canadian. The Wars, it's the same thing. These are all books that have been recently challenged in Canada. So what you want to do is I give you a whole bunch of websites here. You want to research these websites and just look at some information based on how and why books are being challenged. Now, we're not going to get to Chapter 6 today. We'll get to that tomorrow. But we'll quickly run through key question 6, just because we have a bit of time still. So now you've explored some of the main examples of discrimination in the past. It's time to give some thought as to how you feel about the fact that censorship is still going on in today's supposedly free society. Whether it is a parents censoring kinds of music that kids listen to, schools limiting the type of websites that can be accessed by students and teachers, or public libraries removing books from their shelves that are deemed unacceptable. Censorship is all around us. So key question 6, this is your opinion. You've already done your research for 20 marks. This is now your opinion. It says, think about the research you just finished for key question 5. Looking at banning books in school and libraries. In your opinion, should this censorship be permitted to continue in the lives of people under 16? Respond to this question in a formatted opinion. So maybe you want to have point proof structure. Look back at lesson 2 when we looked at that. That's back on page 12 of this lesson. And you want to give 3 specific points and evidence as to why or why not people under the age of 16 should be censored with what they read and watch. Your proofs can either be the examples from your own past school or life experiences, or you may choose to select specific examples that are located during your research on the history of censorship. The purposes of this assignment are to have you develop an opinion on a controversial topic and provide strong, specific evidence to support that opinion. Your evaluation will be based on the following. A strong opinion statement's 2 marks. 10 marks looking at the quality of the evidence and the quality of the detail that you use to support, where you're for or against it. 5 marks for the use of proper paragraph format, and then 3 marks for the proper spelling. You'll notice here that I do not say, and I do not care what side you choose. I will mark it the exact same whether you are for or against it. So we had a question here from Jason. As for question number 5, is it 3 different sources or all 3 together? So what we're looking for here is just 3 different websites. So you're not looking per book. You're just looking per website. So, for example, 3 websites that feel free to use is this one here, ala.org, which is banned books. Then there is bannedbooksweek.org. That's fine. And the one I just showed you, which is the one that's based in Canada. The name of the website right now there, Freedom to Read. So you use freedomtoread.ca, bannedbooksweek.org, and this one here, ala.org/bbooks, and that one. You can use those 2 websites. That's fine. But summarize and research exactly what's going on in that. What points are for and against it? Because there's some points that people have that you may think that's a really good point as to why that should be banned. I won't give you my opinion on this because I want to see what you come up with first. But I have a I have an opinion based on this as well. But the choice is up to you. So go through and look at getting this completed. And then don't worry about starting question 6. We'll look at this again tomorrow. We'll work through that a bit more, but you can't do much with question 6 until you finish question number 5, so focus on that tonight. I'd like to thank everyone who listened in on Bridget for joining me today. Any questions, concerns, let me know. Call me, email me, text me, or Facebook me. If you want to call or text me, I do have a new phone number. I email it to all the DECs. Or you can email me and I'll give it to you via email. I'm just not going to give it out over the air.